My name is Vivian Sterling. And this is the story of how my brother destroyed me, and how I rose from those ashes to destroy everything he ever stole. Growing up in the Sterling household meant understanding your place early. My older brother, Dominic, was born with a crown on his head that nobody could see but everyone acknowledged. He was the firstborn son, the heir, the golden child who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. And me? I was the supporting character in someone else's story. But I did not mind it at first. I genuinely loved our family business. Sterling Woodworks was not just a furniture company. It was my father's dream materialized into solid oak, polished mahogany, and hand-carved elegance. He started it in a tiny garage 30 years ago with nothing but a toolkit, raw determination, and a vision to create furniture that would last generations. I remember being 7 years old, sitting on the workshop floor, surrounded by sawdust and wood shavings, watching my father's hands move with precision and care. He would run his fingers along the grain of the wood, explaining to me how each piece had a story, a soul, a purpose. "Vivian," he would say softly, "furniture is not just about function. It is about legacy. When someone buys a Sterling piece, they are buying something that will witness their lives. Births, celebrations, losses, everything." I fell in love with that idea. While other kids played outside, I was sketching furniture designs in my notebooks. While teenagers my age were at parties, I was learning about wood types, joinery techniques, supply chain logistics. I would stay up until 3 in the morning researching market trends, studying competitor catalogs, teaching myself design software. My father noticed. He would smile at me with this quiet pride that made my heart swell. He never said it out loud, but I knew he saw me as his true successor. Dominic, on the other hand, treated the business like a hobby he could pick up whenever he felt like it. He would show up to the workshop maybe twice a week, always dressed too nicely, always smelling of expensive cologne. He would shake hands with suppliers, pose for photographs at company events, give quotes to journalists about the Sterling vision. But when it came to actual work, he was a ghost. While I was negotiating bulk discounts with timber suppliers at dawn, Dominic was sleeping in. While I was drafting new designs that balanced aesthetic appeal with manufacturing efficiency, Dominic was at golf courses networking. While I was managing the workers, solving production issues, dealing with quality control problems, Dominic was taking clients to expensive lunches and claiming credit for everything. And our parents? They ate it up. "Dominic has such a good presence," my mother would say, beaming. "He is so charismatic. Clients love him." "That boy has leadership in his blood," my father would add, patting Dominic on the back after yet another successful meeting where I had done all the groundwork. I told myself it did not matter. I told myself I was not doing this for recognition. I was doing it because I loved the craft, because I believed in what we were building. But deep down it hurt. It hurt when Dominic got invited to industry conferences, while I stayed behind managing operations. It hurt when business magazines interviewed him as the young visionary behind Sterling Woodworks, without mentioning my name once. It hurt when clients praised his designs that I had spent weeks perfecting. But I pushed through. I kept working. I kept believing that eventually, the truth would reveal itself. Then my father got sick. It started with fatigue. Then came the diagnosis. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave him 6 months. He lasted 4. Those 4 months were the hardest of my life. Watching a man who had been so strong, so vital, so full of life slowly fade away was unbearable. But even in his weakness, he tried to keep the business running. "Vivian," he told me one night, his voice barely a whisper, "I need you to protect what we built. Promise me." I held his frail hand, tears streaming down my face. "I promise, Dad. I promise. The designs, the relationships, the values. Do not let anyone change that. This business is our family's soul." I nodded, unable to speak through my sobs. "You understand it better than anyone," he continued, his eyes glistening. "You always have. You have your grandmother's eye for beauty and your grandfather's mind for business. You are the heart of Sterling Woodworks." Those were the last meaningful words he said to me. 3 days later, he was gone. The funeral was massive. Clients, suppliers, competitors, friends, distant relatives. Everyone came to pay respects to the man who had built something remarkable from nothing. Dominic gave the eulogy. He spoke beautifully about legacy, about craftsmanship, about carrying forward our father's vision. People cried. They hugged him. They told him how proud our father would be. I stood in the back, numb, watching my brother perform grief like it was another business presentation. After the funeral, after the guests left, after the flowers wilted, came the reading of the will. My father had left the business to both of us equally. 50% to Dominic. 50% to me. Co-owners. Equal partners. I felt relief wash over me. Finally, I would have an official voice. Finally, my contributions would be recognized. But Dominic had other plans. 2 weeks after the funeral, he called an emergency board meeting. The board consisted of 5 people, Dominic and me as owners, and 3 external advisors my father had trusted for years. I walked into that conference room expecting to discuss the transition, the future direction, maybe some operational adjustments during this difficult period. What I got instead was an ambush. "Thank you all for coming," Dominic began, standing at the head of the table like he owned the place. Which, technically half of it he did. "I know these past weeks have been incredibly difficult. Losing Dad has left a void that can never be filled. But life goes on, and this business needs strong leadership now more than ever." I nodded, assuming he was building up to a collaborative approach. "Which is why," he continued, his voice taking on a harder edge, "I am formally proposing that we restructure the leadership. This company needs one clear voice, one vision, one leader who can make decisive calls without confusion or conflict." My stomach dropped. I propose that I take on the role of CEO with full operational authority, while Vivian transitions into a more supportive role, perhaps heading up our customer relations or marketing department. The room went silent. I stared at him, unable to process what I just heard. "What?" "It makes sense, Viv," he said, using that condescending nickname I hated. "I have been the public face of this company for years. Clients know me. Suppliers trust me. The industry sees me as Dad's successor. Because you took credit for my work." My voice came out sharper than I intended, but I could not hold it back anymore. Dominic's jaw tightened. "I have been building relationships while you were buried in spreadsheets. Leadership is not just about design and logistics, Vivian. It is about vision. About presence." Vision. I stood up, trembling with rage. I have been creating the vision for this company since I was 17 years old. Every major design we have released in the last decade came from my sketchbook. Every supplier relationship that actually matters, I built. Every operational improvement that saved us money, I implemented. One of the board members, Gerald Hartman, an old friend of my father's, cleared his throat. "Vivian, we all recognize your contributions." "Do you?" I cut him off, spinning to face him. "Do you really? Because I have been invisible in this company for years while Dominic took bows for work he never did." "That is not fair," Dominic said coldly. "I have worked. You have networked." I shouted. "You have schmoozed and smiled and posed for pictures while I did the actual work that kept this company alive." "Enough." Dominic's voice turned ice cold. "This emotional outburst is exactly why you are not suited for leadership. A CEO needs to remain calm under pressure." I felt like I had been slapped. The other board members shifted uncomfortably. Nobody defended me. Nobody spoke up. "I would like to call for a vote," Dominic said smoothly. "All in favor of appointing me as CEO with full operational authority." One by one, the board members raised their hands. All of them. I looked at Gerald, the man who had known me since I was a child, who had watched me grow up in that workshop. He would not meet my eyes. "Motion passes," Dominic announced with barely concealed satisfaction. "Thank you all for your confidence." I could not breathe. The room felt like it was closing in on me. "However," Dominic continued, "I do believe Vivian's talents should not go to waste. I am prepared to offer you the position of design coordinator, reporting directly to our new head of product development." "Head of product development?" I echoed numbly. "We do not have one of those." "We do now," Dominic smiled. "I am bringing in Marcus Chun from Hartfield Furnishings. Starts next month." My blood turned to ice. Marcus Chun. The man was notorious in the industry for prioritizing profit over quality, for cutting corners, for churning out generic, mass-produced garbage. You cannot be serious. I am very serious. This company needs to modernize. We cannot keep operating like it is 1985. Marcus understands contemporary markets. He understands cheap knockoffs. My voice cracked. Dad built this company on quality, on craftsmanship. And Dad is gone. Dominic's words hit like a hammer. I am in charge now. And I will run this company as I see fit. The meeting ended. The board members filed out quickly, avoiding eye contact with me. I sat there, frozen, as my entire world collapsed. Dominic gathered his papers, straightened his tie, and paused at the door. For what it is worth, Vivian, you are talented. But talent is not enough. You lack the instincts for leadership. You are too emotional, too attached. This is business. Then he walked out, leaving me alone in that conference room. That night, I cried until I had no tears left. I called my mother, desperate for support, for validation, for someone to acknowledge how wrong this was. Sweetheart, she said gently, Dominic is just trying to protect the business. Your father would want you two to work together. We are not working together, Mom. He just stripped me of everything. You still own half the company. You will still receive dividends. Maybe it is better this way. You have always worked so hard. Maybe now you can finally relax a little. I hung up. She did not understand. Nobody understood. This was not about money or titles. This was about my identity, my purpose, my father's legacy. For the next 6 months, I tried to make it work. I showed up. I reported to Marcus Chun, who treated me like an intern despite my years of experience. I watched helplessly as Dominic dismantled everything my father had built. He cut costs by switching to cheaper materials. He rushed production timelines, sacrificing quality for quantity. He changed our signature designs to make them more contemporary, which really meant more generic and forgettable. I objected. I pushed back. I presented data showing how these changes were damaging our reputation. Your input has been noted, Marcus would say dismissively before ignoring every suggestion I made. Meanwhile, Dominic was too busy enjoying his new status. He gave interviews to business magazines, appeared on panels, hired expensive consultants. The company was bleeding money on his ego while the actual product deteriorated. The final breaking point came during a design review meeting. I had spent 3 weeks developing a new dining table collection that honored our traditional craftsmanship while incorporating modern sustainability practices. Reclaimed wood, low VOC finishes, modular designs that reduced waste. I presented it to Marcus and the design team with genuine excitement. Marcus looked at my designs for exactly 12 seconds before pushing them aside. Too expensive. Too complicated. Too niche. It is not niche, I argued. Eco-conscious furniture is one of the fastest-growing market segments. Customers are willing to pay premium prices for. Customers want cheap and fast, Marcus interrupted. They want something that looks good in an Instagram photo. They do not care about where the wood came from. Our customers do. Sterling Woodworks built its reputation on quality and values. Sterling Woodworks is a dinosaur, Marcus said bluntly. And dinosaurs go extinct. We need to evolve or die. Something inside me snapped. I looked around that conference room at the faces of people who had been my colleagues for years. People I had trained. People who had learned from my father. Not one of them defended me. I quit. I heard myself say. The room went silent. I quit. I repeated louder. I will not sit here and watch you destroy everything my father built. I will not put my name on furniture that represents everything we stood against. Marcus shrugged. Suit yourself. I walked out of that building for the last time. I did not clean out my desk. I did not say goodbye to anyone. I just left. Dominic called me that evening. Are you serious about quitting? Completely. You are making a mistake, Vivian. Where will you go? What will you do? This business is all you know. Exactly, I said quietly. Which is why I am not done with furniture. I am just done with you. What is that supposed to mean? It means you stole my legacy, Dominic. You erased me from the story. But you cannot erase what I know. You cannot erase my skills or my vision or my relationships. Are you threatening me? No, I said calmly. I am promising you. I am going to build something better. And when I do, everyone will finally see the truth about who really carried Sterling Woodworks all these years. I hung up before he could respond. The next morning, I woke up terrified and exhilarated. I had no job. No income beyond the dividend checks from a company I no longer believed in. No plan beyond a burning determination to prove myself. But I had something more valuable. I had every design I had ever created, carefully backed up on external drives. I had contacts, real relationships with suppliers, craftsmen, and clients who actually knew me, not Dominic. I had 10 years of market research, trend analysis, and industry knowledge. And I had nothing left to lose. I spent the first week doing research. I analyzed market gaps, studied emerging trends, identified what Sterling Woodworks under Dominic's leadership was failing to deliver. The answer became clear: everything. They were abandoning quality for quantity, ignoring sustainability for profit, neglecting design innovation for safe, boring choices. They were alienating the very customers who had made Sterling Woodworks a respected name. And those customers? They were hungry for something better. With a deep breath and a pounding heart, I made a decision that would change my life forever. I was going to start my own furniture company. I emptied my savings account. 8 years of living frugally, of investing every bonus back into learning and growth, had left me with $73,000. It was not much for starting a business, but it was something. I found a warehouse space in the industrial district, far from Sterling Woodworks. It was rough, concrete floors, exposed pipes, minimal lighting, but the rent was affordable and it had good bones. I named my company Sterling and Vale Interiors. The Sterling was for my father's legacy, the real legacy, not the corrupted version Dominic was creating. The Vale was my grandmother's maiden name, honoring the woman who had first taught me about beauty and design. I could not afford to hire employees yet, so I did everything myself. I was the designer, the marketer, the customer service representative, the bookkeeper, the janitor. I worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. My first collection was small, just 6 pieces, but each one was perfect. I created a dining table from reclaimed barn wood, each plank telling a story of weathered resilience. The chairs were ergonomically designed but aesthetically stunning, comfortable enough for long dinners but beautiful enough to be art pieces. A coffee table that doubled as storage, addressing the reality of modern small-space living. A bookshelf system that was modular and customizable. A bedroom set that prioritized sustainable materials without sacrificing luxury. And a desk designed for the work-from-home revolution that was just beginning. Every piece reflected what I believed furniture should be. Functional, beautiful, responsible, and timeless. Marketing was harder. I had no budget for traditional advertising, so I went digital. I taught myself social media strategy. I created content showing the craftsmanship behind each piece, the stories of where materials came from, the design process from sketch to final product. I was authentic, vulnerable, and passionate. Slowly, people started noticing. My first sale came 3 weeks after launch. A young couple bought the dining table. They loved that it was sustainable, that it had character, that it was not just another mass-produced piece. They posted photos online. Their friends asked where they got it. Those friends visited my website. Some of them bought pieces too. Word spread organically, one satisfied customer at a time. 6 months in, I landed my first major client. A boutique hotel chain was opening a new property and wanted furniture that reflected their commitment to sustainability and local craftsmanship. They found me through Instagram and loved my aesthetic. The contract was for $50,000. I nearly cried when I signed it. That hotel project became my portfolio piece. The design magazines covered it. Interior designers started reaching out. Clients asked for custom pieces. I hired my first employee, then my second, then my fifth. I moved to a larger workshop. I invested in better equipment. I brought on skilled craftsmen who shared my values, who understood that we were building something meaningful. Sterling and Vale Interiors was not just surviving, it was thriving. Meanwhile, I watched from a distance as Sterling Woodworks struggled. The cost-cutting measures under Dominic's leadership were backfiring. Customers complained about quality issues. Returns increased. Several long-term clients quietly moved their business elsewhere. Industry reputation was deteriorating. Design blogs that had once praised Sterling Woodworks now criticized their shift toward generic contemporary designs. The craftsmanship that had defined the brand was gone, replaced by furniture that looked like everything else on the market. But Dominic was too arrogant to see it. He blamed the market, blamed changing trends, blamed everything except his own poor decisions. 2 years after I started Sterling and Vale Interiors, something incredible happened. Meridian Hotels and Resorts, one of the largest luxury hotel chains in the region, announced they were completely renovating their flagship property. They wanted furniture that combined sustainability, luxury, and distinctive design. This was the contract every furniture company dreamed of. Prestigious, profitable, career-defining. Sterling Woodworks submitted a proposal. So did I. I put everything into that proposal. I created custom designs specifically for their brand identity. I detailed our sustainability practices, our commitment to craftsmanship, our ability to deliver on time and on budget. I included testimonials from previous clients. I made it personal, passionate, and professional. 3 weeks later, I got the call. Ms. Sterling? This is Rebecca Torres from Meridian Hotels. I am calling with excellent news. We loved your proposal. Absolutely loved it. We would like to move forward with Sterling and Vale Interiors for our flagship renovation project. I had to sit down. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. That is wonderful. I managed. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Rebecca said warmly. Your designs are exceptional. And honestly, the passion in your proposal stood out. We can tell you truly care about what you create. That matters to us. After I hung up, I sat in my office and cried. Not sad tears. Tears of vindication, of relief, of overwhelming gratitude. Everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed, was finally paying off. The Meridian project took 8 months to complete. Every single piece was crafted with meticulous care. Beds that looked like clouds but supported proper spinal alignment. Desks that made guests feel inspired. Lobby furniture that made a statement without overwhelming the space. When the flagship hotel unveiled their renovation, the response was overwhelming. Design magazines called it a masterclass in contemporary luxury. Travel publications featured it in their most beautiful hotel lists. Industry awards followed. And every article, every review, every award mentioned Sterling and Vale Interiors by name. Mention me by name. Vivian Sterling, the visionary designer behind Sterling and Vale Interiors. Orders flooded in. Hotels, restaurants, high-end residential clients, corporate offices. I had to expand again, hiring more craftsmen, more designers, moving to an even larger facility. Sterling and Vale Interiors was not just successful. It was becoming a household name in the industry. 3 years after I walked away from my brother's company, Sterling and Vale Interiors had annual revenue exceeding $5 million. We employed 47 people. We had clients across 3 states. We were featured in national publications. And Sterling Woodworks? They were hemorrhaging money. Dominic's cost-cutting and quality compromises had destroyed their reputation. Major clients had left. Their designs were mocked online as boring and outdated. Marcus Chun had been fired after an embezzlement scandal. Employee morale was at rock bottom. The board was panicking. The company my father had built over 3 decades was on the verge of collapse after just 5 years under Dominic's leadership. I did not gloat. Honestly, it made me sad. Not for Dominic, but for what could have been. For the legacy that was being destroyed. Then came the moment I will never forget. I was at my showroom discussing a custom project with a client when Dominic walked in. I had not seen him in person in 3 years. He looked terrible. The arrogance was gone, replaced by desperation. His expensive suit could not hide the stress in his posture, the exhaustion in his eyes. "Vivian," he said, "I need to talk to you." I excused myself from my client and led Dominic to my private office. My heart was pounding, but I kept my expression neutral. What do you want, Dominic? He sank into a chair without being invited. The company is in trouble. Serious trouble. I know. His head snapped up. You know, I keep track of industry news. I know Sterling Woodworks is failing. He flinched at the word failing but could not deny it. We need help. I need help. And you came to me. You are still a co-owner. You still have a stake in the company. If it goes under, you lose everything too. The dividend check stopped being meaningful a long time ago, I said calmly. My success is not tied to Sterling Woodworks anymore. But it is still Dad's company. Dominic's voice cracked. It is still the family legacy. Do you not care about that? I care deeply, I said quietly. Which is why it killed me to watch you destroy it. I made mistakes, he admitted, and for the first time ever, I saw genuine vulnerability in my brother's face. I thought I knew better. I thought I could modernize, streamline, make it more profitable. I was wrong. I was so wrong, Vivian. Yes, you were. I need you to come back, he said desperately. I need your designs, your vision, your expertise. We can turn this around together. Please. I looked at my brother, this man who had stolen my credit, erased my contributions, humiliated me in front of the board, and dismissed my value for years. No, I said simply. Vivian, please. You took everything from me, Dominic. My recognition, my voice, my place in our father's company. You told me I was not good enough to lead. You said I was too emotional, too attached, that I lacked leadership instincts. I was wrong. I admit it. I was completely wrong. You were wrong about a lot of things, I continued. You were wrong about what customers want. Wrong about quality versus quantity. Wrong about craftsmanship versus cost-cutting. Wrong about vision versus ego. And you were especially wrong about me. So you are just going to let the company die? Let everything Dad built disappear? No, I said, standing up. I am going to let your version of the company die. Because that is not what Dad built. Dad built Sterling Woodworks on integrity, quality, and craftsmanship. You turned it into something cheap and meaningless. Let it die. It deserves to. Dominic stood too, anger flashing across his face. You are enjoying this. Watching me fail. I am not enjoying it, I said honestly. But I am not going to fix it either. You made your choices. You live with the consequences. The board was wrong, Dominic said, his voice breaking. I see that now. You should have been CEO. You always should have been in charge. Yes, I agreed. I should have. But you know what? I am glad you took that from me. Because it forced me to build something better. Something that is actually mine. Something nobody can ever take credit for except me. I walked to my office window, looking out at my showroom filled with customers browsing beautiful furniture. At my workshop where skilled craftsmen were creating pieces that mattered. I have spent 3 years building sterling and veil interiors from nothing. I said without turning around. Every client, every design, every success, it is mine. Truly mine. And it has been the most fulfilling 3 years of my life. So that is it. Dominic's voice was hollow. You are just going to let me lose everything? I turned to face him. You did not lose anything, Dominic. You threw it away. There is a difference. He stared at me for a long moment, then walked to the door. For what it is worth, he said quietly. You were always better at this than me. I knew it. I think I always knew it. That is why I had to push you out. Because as long as you were there, everyone could see the truth. Then he left. 6 months later, Sterling Woodworks filed for bankruptcy. The assets were liquidated. The brand was sold to a conglomerate that turned it into a generic mass-market label, stripping away any remaining connection to my father's legacy. Dominic walked away with nothing except debt and a destroyed reputation. I did not attend the bankruptcy proceedings. I did not buy any of the assets when they went up for sale. I did not need to, because I had something better. Sterling and Veil Interiors continued to grow. We opened a second location. We launched an online platform that made our designs accessible to customers across the country. We won industry awards. We were featured in major publications as one of the most innovative furniture companies in the region. And the best part? Every single article, every review, every piece of press coverage accurately credited me as the founder, the designer, the visionary. My name, my work, my legacy. 1 year after Sterling Woodworks collapsed, I received an email from Gerald Hartman, the board member who had voted against me years ago. Dear Vivian, it read. I owe you an apology I should have given years ago. I was wrong to support Dominic over you. I let personal biases and outdated thinking cloud my judgment. You were always the heart and soul of that company, and I should have fought for you. Watching what you have built with Sterling and Vale Interiors has been humbling. Your father would be incredibly proud. I hope someday you can forgive an old fool who failed to see your brilliance when it mattered most. I sat with that email for a long time before responding. Dear Gerald, I wrote back. Thank you for your apology. It means more than you know. But what happened was not your failure alone. It was a systemic problem, an inability to see value in someone who did not fit the expected mold of leadership. I hope my success serves as a lesson that talent, vision, and dedication come in many forms. We all have to do better at recognizing and supporting them. As for forgiveness, consider it granted. Life is too short for old grudges. Be well. Because that was true. I was not angry anymore. Anger had been useful initially. It had fueled me when I needed fire to build something from nothing. But now? I had moved past it. I had won. Not through destruction or revenge, but through creation and excellence. My mother called me last spring. Sweetheart, I need to tell you something. What is it, Mom? I was wrong about Dominic. I was wrong about you. I let my own biases blind me to what was really happening. You were carrying that company, and we all took it for granted. I took you for granted. I am so sorry. My throat tightened. Thank you for saying that. Your father would be so proud of you, Vivian. Not just because of your success, but because of the integrity you maintained. You could have destroyed Dominic out of spite. But you did not. You just built something better. I built what Dad taught me to build, I said quietly. Furniture with soul. A business with values. A legacy that means something. You did more than that, my mother said. You protected his real legacy when his son tried to destroy it. You are his true heir. After we hung up, I walked through my showroom one more time. I ran my hand along a dining table made from reclaimed oak, feeling the grain beneath my fingers just like my father had taught me all those years ago. Each piece in this showroom represented a choice. A commitment to quality over profit. Craftsmanship over convenience. Integrity over ego. This was my father's legacy. Not the company Dominic destroyed, but the values I carried forward. And this was my triumph. Not loud or vengeful, but quiet and undeniable. Dominic eventually moved to another city, trying to rebuild his career in a different industry. I heard he is working for someone else now, no longer in charge, no longer calling the shots. I do not wish him ill. I hope he learned something. I hope he became a better person. But that is not my concern anymore. My concern is the young designer I just hired, Maya Chen, who reminds me so much of myself at her age. Talented, hungry, passionate, but overlooked because she does not fit someone's narrow idea of what success looks like. I see her staying late, sketching designs, questioning everything, pushing boundaries. Maya, I told her yesterday, I see you. I see your talent. I see your dedication. And I promise you, in this company, you will never be invisible. Your work will always be credited to you. Your voice will always matter. She looked at me with such gratitude, such relief, and I saw my younger self reflected in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. That means everything. No, I said, smiling. Your talent means everything. I am just making sure everyone else sees it too. Because that is what real leadership looks like. Not taking credit. Not erasing contributions. But elevating others, protecting their work, ensuring their voices are heard. That is what my father taught me. That is what Dominic never understood. And that is why Sterling and Vale Interiors continues to thrive while Sterling Woodworks became a cautionary tale. Sometimes people ask me if I feel vindicated. If I feel satisfied watching my brother lose everything while I succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. The honest answer is complicated. I feel sad for what could have been. I feel angry about the years of erasure and dismissal. I feel frustrated that it took losing everything for people to finally see my value. But more than anything, I feel proud. Proud of the company I built. Proud of the furniture we create. Proud of the values we uphold. Proud of the team I have assembled. Talented people who share a vision of craftsmanship, sustainability, and integrity. Proud that when I look at Sterling and Vale Interiors, I see my father's real legacy alive and thriving. Not in a name on a building or a company that no longer exists, but in every carefully crafted piece of furniture, in every satisfied customer, in every designer who is encouraged to push boundaries, in every craftsman who takes pride in their work. That is legacy. That is what endures. Last month, I was invited to speak at a furniture industry conference. The same conference where, years ago, Dominic had been interviewed as the young visionary behind Sterling Woodworks, while I managed operations back home. I stood on that stage and told my story, not to bash Dominic, but to illuminate a larger truth about recognition, about value, about the invisible labor that makes success possible. Success is not about who is loudest, I told the audience. It is not about who looks the part or who has the right connections. Real success is built on skill, integrity, persistence, and the courage to believe in yourself even when nobody else does. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, dozens of people approached me. Young designers who felt overlooked. Women who had been dismissed in their family businesses. People who had watched others take credit for their work. "You gave me hope," one woman said, tears streaming down her face. "I thought I was crazy for feeling invisible. But you showed me I am not alone." "You are not crazy," I told her, holding her hands. "You are undervalued. And that is not the same thing. Never let anyone convince you that your contribution does not matter." That night, back in my hotel room, I thought about the journey that brought me here. From that little girl sitting in sawdust, watching her father's hands create beauty, to the teenager sketching furniture designs instead of going to parties, to the young woman working 18-hour days while her brother took credit, to the heartbroken daughter watching her father die, promising to protect his legacy, to the devastated sister being erased from her own story, to the determined entrepreneur starting over with nothing but skill and stubbornness, to the successful business owner proving everyone wrong, to the industry leader standing on stages, inspiring others. Every step had been necessary, even the painful ones. Especially the painful ones. Because pain taught me what success never could. It taught me resilience. It taught me self-reliance. It taught me that external validation is lovely but internal conviction is essential. If Dominic had not pushed me out, I might have stayed forever. Comfortable but invisible. Contributing but uncredited. Talented but diminished. He thought he was destroying me. Instead, he set me free. 3 months ago, I bought a building. Not just any building, but the original Sterling Woodworks warehouse where my father first started his company 30 years ago. After the bankruptcy, it had been sold, then resold, then abandoned. It sat empty for 2 years, deteriorating, forgotten. When I heard it was available, I did not hesitate. I walked through that space with tears in my eyes, remembering every corner. The spot where my father's first workbench stood. The wall where he hung his original sketches. The loading dock where we celebrated our first major sale. This was where it all began. And now, it was where my father's true legacy would continue. I am renovating the building to become the flagship location for Sterling and Vale Interiors. But more than that, I am creating something my father would have loved. The Sterling Craft Academy. A training program for young designers and craftspeople who want to learn traditional woodworking techniques, combined with modern sustainability practices. A place where talent is recognized regardless of who you know or where you came from. A place where hard work and passion are valued above connections and charisma. A place where nobody will ever be invisible. I am funding scholarships for students who cannot afford tuition. I am bringing in master craftspeople to teach. I am creating apprenticeship programs that lead to real jobs in the industry. And I am naming it after my father, Robert Sterling, whose vision of furniture with soul started everything. The grand opening is scheduled for next spring. I have already received 200 applications for 20 spots. The response has been overwhelming. When I told my mother about the academy, she cried. Your father would be so proud, Vivian. This is exactly what he always dreamed of. Not just building furniture, but building people. Building a community. Building something that outlasts all of us. I know, I said softly. I remember him saying that furniture should witness lives. Well, this academy will create lives. It will give opportunities to people who deserve them. That is a legacy worth building. Yesterday, I received a letter. Handwritten. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. Dominic. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. Dear Vivian, it began. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But I need to say some things, even if you never respond. I destroyed everything Dad built. Not the company, though I did that too. I destroyed the values, the integrity, the meaning behind what we did. I was so obsessed with being seen as successful that I forgot what actual success looked like. You showed me. Not through words but through actions. Sterling and Vale Interiors is everything Sterling Woodworks should have remained. And the academy you are building? That is the kind of vision I pretended to have but never actually possessed. I told myself I was protecting the family legacy. But you are the one who actually protected it. You carried forward the values that mattered. You built something that would make Dad proud. I wasted years being jealous of your talent, instead of celebrating it. I spent so much energy diminishing your contributions that I never developed any real skills of my own. I was a fraud, and deep down I always knew it. Watching you succeed has been painful, but it has also been educational. You taught me that real leadership is not about taking credit. It is about taking responsibility. Not about being visible, but about making others visible. I am working with a therapist now, trying to understand why I needed so desperately to be seen as important that I destroyed the people who actually loved me. I am learning that my value as a person is not determined by titles or recognition or success. That I am enough just as I am, without stealing anyone else's light. I do not know if I will ever rebuild my career. Honestly, I do not know if I should. Maybe my role in this story was to be the cautionary tale. The example of what happens when ego eclipses everything else. If that is my legacy, I accept it. As long as your legacy is the truth. That you were always the heart and soul of our family's craftsmanship. I am sorry, Vivian. For everything. You deserved so much better. Your brother, Dominic. I read the letter 3 times. Then I sat down and wrote back. Dear Dominic, thank you for your letter. Thank you for your honesty. I forgive you. Not because what you did was acceptable, but because carrying anger forever only hurts me. You made terrible choices. You hurt me deeply. But you are also my brother, and somewhere beneath all the mistakes and ego, I remember the person you used to be before pressure and expectations twisted you into someone unrecognizable. I hope therapy helps you. I hope you find peace and purpose beyond the need for external validation. I hope you discover that your worth as a human being is not measured by professional success or family approval. I will not forget what happened. I will not pretend the pain was not real. But I will not let it define me anymore either. You asked if you will ever rebuild your career. I do not know. But I do know that every person deserves a chance at redemption if they are willing to do the real work of changing. If you ever want to visit the Sterling Craft Academy when it opens, you are welcome. Not as a teacher or a leader, but as a student. Someone willing to learn rather than pretend he already knows everything. That door is open if you ever want to walk through it. Take care of yourself, Dominic. Your sister, Vivian. I mailed the letter that afternoon. I do not know if he will respond. I do not know if he will take me up on the offer to visit the academy. I do not even know if he will continue his therapy or his self-reflection. But that is not my responsibility. My responsibility is to keep building, keep creating, keep honoring the legacy my father entrusted to me. Next week, we are unveiling our new sustainable furniture line, made entirely from ocean-reclaimed plastics and recycled materials. It is bold. It is innovative. It is everything traditional furniture makers said could not be done. I named the collection Legacy. Because legacy is not about preserving the past exactly as it was. Legacy is about carrying forward the values, the vision, the heart of what came before while having the courage to evolve and improve. My father taught me to see the soul in wood, to understand that every piece of furniture should tell a story, to believe that craftsmanship matters in a world that increasingly values convenience over quality. Those lessons are my inheritance. Not a company name or a title or 50% ownership in something that no longer exists. Those values, those are what I carry forward. And when I look at Sterling and Vale Interiors, at the academy we are building, at the lives we are changing, at the furniture we are creating, I see my father's legacy alive and thriving. Not because of what he left me, but because of what he taught me. Not because of a name on a building, but because of the principles in my heart. That is the legacy that cannot be stolen. That cannot be erased. That cannot be diminished by anyone's ego or insecurity. That is the legacy worth fighting for. Last night, I stood in the renovated warehouse, in what will soon be the Sterling Craft Academy. The space was empty, walls freshly painted, floors refinished, windows letting in the golden light of sunset. I closed my eyes and felt my father's presence. Not in a supernatural way, but in the way that love transcends death. In the way that teachings outlive the teacher. In the way that values persist through generations. I kept my promise, Dad. I whispered into the empty space. I protected what you built. Not the company Dominic destroyed, but the real legacy. The one that matters. The building was silent, but I swear I felt peace wash over me. Because I knew with absolute certainty that my father would be proud. Not because I became successful. Not because I built a thriving company. Not because I won some competition against my brother. But because I stayed true to the values he taught me. Because I created with integrity. Because I lifted others up instead of pushing them down. Because I built something with soul. That is what he would have wanted. That is what I created. And that is enough. Tomorrow I have meetings with 3 new clients. Next week, we are launching that sustainable collection. Next month, we are interviewing candidates for the Academy's first class. Next year, we are opening a 3rd location. The work continues. The journey continues. The legacy continues. But tonight, I am just going to sit here in this empty warehouse and feel gratitude. Gratitude for the hard times that made me stronger. Gratitude for the betrayal that set me free. Gratitude for the father who taught me to see beauty in wood and integrity in work. Gratitude for the opportunity to build something meaningful. Gratitude for every person who doubted me, because their doubt made my success that much sweeter. And gratitude for the person I became through this journey. Not the golden child. Not the invisible worker. Not the heartbroken daughter or the angry sister or the desperate entrepreneur. But Vivian Sterling. Founder of Sterling and Vale Interiors, creator of the Sterling Craft Academy, carrier of her father's true legacy, a woman who took her pain and turned it into purpose, a woman who took her skills and turned them into success, a woman who took her father's values and turned them into a movement. That is who I am now, and nobody, absolutely nobody, can ever take that away from me, because this time, the legacy is not just inherited, it is earned. It is mine. And it is just beginning. The sun set completely, leaving the warehouse in darkness. But I was not afraid of the dark anymore. Because I had learned the most important lesson of all. Light does not come from being seen by others. Light comes from knowing your own worth. And my light? It burns brighter than ever. I stood up, brushed off my jeans, and walked toward the door. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new stories to tell. But tonight I was at peace. Because I had done what seemed impossible. I had taken my brother's betrayal and turned it into my greatest triumph. I had taken my father's failing company and built something better. I had taken invisibility and turned it into undeniable presence. And most importantly, I had proven that true talent, real integrity, and authentic passion will always, always find a way to shine. No matter who tries to dim it. No matter how long it takes. No matter what obstacles stand in the way. The legacy my father started in a garage 30 years ago lives on. Not in the company that bears his name, but betrayed his values. but in every piece of furniture I create, in every student I teach, in every person I inspire to believe in themselves. That is the legacy that matters. That is the legacy that endures. And that is the legacy I will spend the rest of my life protecting, nurturing, and expanding. Because some things are worth fighting for. And my father's true legacy? That was worth everything. As I locked the warehouse door behind me and walked to my car, I thought about everyone who is reading this story right now. Maybe you feel invisible in your own family. Maybe someone is taking credit for your work. Maybe you have been told you are not good enough, not ready, not suited for something you know in your heart you were born to do. If that is you, please hear me. Your value is not determined by who recognizes it. Your talent is not diminished by who ignores it. Your legacy is not controlled by who tries to steal it. You have everything you need inside you already. The skills, the passion, the vision, the resilience. All you need is the courage to bet on yourself when nobody else will. To walk away from situations that diminish you. To build something that reflects your true worth. To keep going even when it feels impossible. Because I promise you, from someone who has lived this journey, it is worth it. Every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, every sacrifice, all of it is worth it when you finally stand in the space you created, surrounded by the work you produced, recognized for the talent you always possessed. Do not let anyone convince you that you are not enough. Do not let anyone steal your story. Do not let anyone diminish your light. Build something so undeniably excellent that the truth becomes impossible to ignore. And when you do, when you finally achieve what they said you could not, do not waste energy on anger or revenge. Just let your success speak for itself. Because that is the loudest statement of all. My brother tried to erase me from the family legacy. Instead, I became the legacy. And so can you. If this story resonated with you, if it gave you hope or inspiration or courage to keep fighting for your own dreams, please subscribe to our channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling us about your own journey of overcoming doubt and building something meaningful. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And we want to hear it. Hit that subscribe button and join a community of people who believe that talent, integrity, and persistence will always triumph over ego and theft. Thank you for listening to my story. Now go out there and write your own.